Hello. I turned off the overhead light and I can't get it to come back on, so we're just gonna be in a horror movie. This back here, right there, super creepy. It really doesn't look that creepy in real life, but with the light off, it's a little, yeah. So, I'm gonna try it. Nope. Okay. Well, we're just gonna deal with it. Let me pull my little lamp closer and see if that helps. Nope. Okay. So, Tom tagged me in a question to talk about what I think makes a good antagonist. And basically, there you go, Jen. I really like complexity, and that is, if I could boil it down to like one thing, that is it. The antagonist who has more to them than just being the bad guy, and more than just who's just a person. Like, I like well-rounded characters, whether they're the good guys or bad guys, and even that, like, I don't like it when it's so clear-cut that, these guys are the good guys, these guys are the bad guys, and, it's very obvious who's who. I like a little bit of uncertainty. I like a little bit of, like, a lot of grayness. And I utilize that in my story a lot. Those of you who are familiar with my story, I have a couple of, like, okay, this is very clear that this is the bad person, this is the villain, but I have several that are going to, like, start out good and then become bad. And basically, when I'm talking about antagonists or villains or bad guys or whatever, I'm the foundational. I'm sorry, I had to burp. It's lovely. I just had ice cream, so there's that. So when I'm talking about a villain or an antagonist or something like that, my definition is the definition that I said in the other video that I made. I'm not sure where to look. Like, do I look at myself or do I look at the camera? It's really weird to look at the camera. Hello. I'm going to see if my light comes back on. Yes! Ha! There we go. You can see me and I'm not creepy anymore. Okay. Lost my train of thought. Okay, I'm using the thing of an antagonist is the protagonist in their version of the world. And so, like, when I talk about antagonists and stuff, like, I'm operating with that in mind. Like, I try to make all of my my antagonists good in their own eyes. And the only one who's really, like, in my story right now, the only one who doesn't really care about that is my girl's mom. She's pretty much the bad guy, and she's evil, and she's not evil, but she's very cruel, and in her mind, it's not a thing of her thinking that she's good, but she thinks that she's justified in her hatred and her abuse and all of that. And so she's like the clearly bad person. And then you have, should I say names? I don't know. Okay, it's not like a huge thing. Well, okay, okay. In book one, especially, the Wakandans are the villains. But they're not exactly, because most of them think they're good, and most of them want to be good, and I'm totally rambling, I'm sorry. I have 2 point of view characters, and so they each have their own antagonist, basically. And so for Aurelia, her main antagonist is her mom, and that pretty much stays throughout. I mean, it's definitely book 1, but probably into at least the first half of book 2, that will be her main antagonist. For Rab, she views the Holkondens as the antagonists, and particularly she views Mazreka as her, like, he's the bad guy. And most of you probably know what he actually is, but I like that aspect of things, that you have this girl who is basically an unreliable narrator, and she is very biased, and she's been hurt, and she is viewing this guy especially, but also like the men like him, through the lens of he hurt me and he's bad and he's corrupt and he's out for himself and blah blah blah. And so I want it to be that it's kind of clear that you know who the antagonist is, but then you're not caught up. You're not positive, because you have Mazreka interacting with Rab, and he is a jerk, and he's I'm gonna figure out where to look. He seems like he's bad, but then you have him interacting with Aurelia, and he's not so bad, and he's nice. And actually, one of the funny things that I have, and I hope I do this well, like clearly enough, but any interaction that Rab has in book 1 with a Holkonden is tainted, and she views it, he's a jerk, he's looking at her weird, he's looking at the people that she's with weird, and any interaction that Aurelia has with the Holkondens, they're nice, and they're helpful, and they're protective, and so it's kind of this thing. I want people to wonder if Rab is just, like, if she just has this personal vendetta, because so many times in the type of story that I'm writing is kind of a dystopian thing, and in at least the books that I've read, the group in charge is always bad. Like, that's always the people you're fighting against. And the rebellion is always right, and blah, blah, blah. And so I kind of want this to make you wonder. It's like, well, maybe they're not. Like, what if the Holkondens actually aren't the bad guys, and the rebels are just messed up, and they don't know what they're doing, and, So that is rambling. This is really long. I'm sorry. But basically, I like an antagonist that you can't always tell if they're the antagonist or not. Makes it very interesting. I like it when they are smart. I think they just need to be seen as a character. Like, you should know them well, and you should, unless you're writing like a psychopath or a sociopath that, you should stick to that. You should do research on that. But unless you're writing someone who is like expressly evil, which I'm not saying that they are, but that's like a common thing. But unless you're writing somebody who is actually like evil or spawn of Satan or whatever, they should have some redeemable qualities. They should have some things about them that are not bad. Like, they should like animals, or they should like their children, or they should like to be silly. And I learned through this little character thing that I'm doing with some people that Mazreka likes to pull pranks on people. And, like, that humanizes him. And I like antagonists, and I think a good antagonist is one who is human and humanized, and not seen as the bad guy, but seen as a character who is out for this thing, and they are against the protagonist. And her hand looks huge. Basically, I think a good antagonist is when the story could be flipped and told from the antagonist's point of view, and the protagonist would be the bad guy. That is pretty... I like it when stories do that. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, I rambled a lot. I'm sorry. But I was going to talk really fast about... Tom's question to Shelley was, how did you get the idea for your current story? And I wanted to answer that one too. And basically, I got it from a song by a band called Thrice. Under a Killing Moon is the name of it, and you could look it up. It's awesome. They're a great band. But basically, from that song, and I don't know what it's about, but I got the image of this girl standing, watching this group of people kill somebody, like set them on fire, And she is standing there and she's like, this is wrong, this should not be happening, and she wants to speak up, but she knows that if she does, she's going to die too. And that was basically the basis for Rab. And the idea came from, like, okay, I have this girl who does that, and then that girl can't stay silent, and so she, speaks out, and her sister sees her get killed. Which, if you know the story of my story at all, you know that Rab was never intended to be a character. Rab was dead. And that was the whole thing, is that Aurelia saw her sister get killed in front of her for being a rebel, and it just started this whole chain of events. And oh my gosh, this is the longest video ever. I'm so sorry. No one's going to watch the whole thing. But yeah, so from that song, and it just kind of evolved into what it is. So, okay, bye.